difficult for me to, the main thing that's just a bit difficult for me to understand, I think, and wrap my head around is just the concept of manifestation of God generally, and then what comes after that as well, and what that means fully. So that's just
Okay.
the general topic, Raji. And then
Yeah.
underneath also there's a few underlying questions. Yeah.
So, one question that, you know, was is comes up, and which was there was this how we recognize, how we understand God, the idea of God. Sometimes, some people say, well, God is just unknowable, you
Mm,
know. So unknowable, so by definition, unknowable means okay, unknowable. Then I can't go further with that, That's the end point. Yeah. But that means I can't ask anything. I can't seek to know also, because
mm,
it is not possible to know God.
mm,
Uh, so then afterwards, whatever you say about God, really speaking, it is irrelevant. It doesn't matter because it is not knowable itself. Then we have other reasons, explanations we have to have for whatever we are trying to know. Basically, when we use the term God, we are trying to know something which is the source of everything, you know. Because, that is how we understand anything in this world in terms of a cause effect relationship. So, here, so there are different philosophies, are there different ways of looking at it. This, what I see outside of myself is a world, you know, is a universe, it's cosmic. So this thing is there. Is this something that just came? Was the source nothing, or was it something? You know. So in understanding anything in life, we look at our understanding cognitively, intellectually, reasoning. When I say understand means it has to be reasonable. It has to, then there you may say, okay, well, everyone thinks they are reasonable. Okay. But it has to appeal to my reasoning at the very least, right? If something doesn't appeal to my reasoning or what is reasoning in my mind, then my mind will really not accept it, freely. It may accept it out of some compulsion or some whatever, but it won't say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I get it. This is what it is. That kind of conclusive thinking won't be there. So it has to be reasonable. And then reasoning is based on one is thinking process, but it's also based on our experiences, life experiences. Because those are the things that validate things for me. It is not only, we don't only live by reasoning, we also live by life experiences. So, and those validate our reasoning also. If I think of certain things, but what I experience is something different, then my mind, it doesn't, even though it looks, there's a conflict there. It makes sense, but then nothing validates it. My experience is the opposite. So I go by my experience, right? But the experience also is another way by which we get to know things. So there's a different philosophies are there, and then some philosophers they say, oh, well, everything came out of nothing, like science. Okay. Or there's another way of thinking, which is that nothing comes from nothing. So that means because there's a cause effect, if there's a cause effect, then so nothing cannot be a cause for something. That's our experience. Okay. Now the question is what I see. This is one level of questioning. The other level is little more fundamental. This is in terms of knowing, how we know things. There's another which is in terms of the reality of what we know, you know. So how real is what I perceive, what I think? This world itself, for example, the world that I experience, how real is it? What do you mean by real? Well, how tangible is it? How tangible it is. Tangible, what do you mean by tangible? Well, available for my perceptions. That's tangible, you know. Something which is not available for my perception, for my eyes, for my ears. I hear sounds, I hear, I see things, I taste things. So anything that's available to my senses, I think it is tangible. I can hold on to it. It validates my reality. But then are there things which are intangible? Well, there are things which are intangible too. My thoughts are intangible. My feelings are intangible. They're not available for my perceptions, but then are they there or not? Well, they are there. At least for me, they are there. You know, for others, they are there. They say they are there. So that means there can be things which are there which are not tangible. There can be things which are there which are tangible in terms of their reality, of my experience, which is what makes it real for me. So, like that. So, here the question is, when I look at the world in terms of its reality, how real is it? You know, even though that the tangible world, is it real in the sense, are things as I perceive them to be, or they are different? You know, so for example, I'll give you an example. You look at a table, I look at a table, and then I say, oh, this is a table. It's an object. It's perceived by me. I can see it. I can bang on it. Some noise is there. So I say, yeah, this is a real object. It is tangible. It is there. It is a table. What is a table? Then another person, who doesn't know the meaning of the word table, never heard of it, he looks at it and says, no, no, I don't see it. I don't see anything that I know as a table, but I see wood. This is wood. It's not a table, it's a wood. So the reality of the table, there is no such thing as a table. It's really wood. That's the reality. That's the truth of this object, that it is the wood. Now, you're calling it a table because it has a certain function and a certain form. So you call it a table. So that is what is called a name and form. It is a name and a form, and to which you give a word, but really it is wood. Then another fellow comes and looks at it and says, no, no, it's not wood. It's just certain kind of fibers. Okay. We're looking at it different. So, like that, anything you look at this world, I hear a sound. Sound is there. Did you hear a sound? Yeah, I also heard a sound. This sound, the bell made a sound, ringing of the bell. What is that? Is it there? Is it something? What do you mean by sound? No, no, the sound is, even though a tinkle is not a sound. No, it's just waves. It's just waves. Then another person, no, no, this is not waves, this is energy. There's some kind of energy. So, like that, the deeper you look at the things are not as they appear perceptually at a deeper. So in the sense, what I think an object is, so my object of experience, as I experience it, doesn't establish its truth. Look, it's just from a perspective, from which angle you are looking at it. Okay. That is the nature of the whole world, in fact. Okay. So now another way, another thing we'll say is, you know what? This whole thing, since all things cannot come from nothing, therefore, but then there was a time when this was not there, you know, there was not, this table was not there at one point, you know, it was the effect, you know. So then we say, no, no, it was there in the form of wood. The wood was not there at one time. No, this wood was there, but it wasn't wood from which the table is made. It was a tree. Oh, so the truth of the table really is the tree. That is the source. No, but tree was always there. God was always there. No, no. Tree was not always there. It was at one point, it was a seed. Seed was always there. Oh, so, okay, now you get into this cycle. Cycle, now what do you mean? So, this is not a linear thing, cause effect. It is cyclical. So, in our tradition, we look upon this manifest, the whole manifest universe of our experience as cyclical, not as linear. At one point, somebody says, world be there, and it's there. And then world don't be there, and it's not there. It's not like that, you know. So for us, creation means is manifestation. Okay. So now, so that means this whole thing that is manifest obviously was manifest from something, not from nothing. What is that something is the ultimate source, ultimate source. So when it comes to this, the manifest universe, and before it is, you know, when I say something is manifest, again, what does that mean? You know, to manifest to what? It is always manifest to something or to somebody. If you don't have eyes, then this world is not manifest visually. The visual world is not manifest to you without your eyes. The auditory world is not manifest to you without your ears. It doesn't exist, you know. Even in the manifest world, there are different animals. Some hear the same sound, some don't hear the sounds. Dog can hear things which we don't hear. The range is different. There are ranges in our vision. The wavelengths are different. That we don't see ultraviolet light, but some other animals can see that, you know. So that means manifest and manifest, unmanifest is not absolute. It is really dependent on the senses. So this, it is because of the senses that you see. It is not because there is an object that you see. Okay. So because so my point is manifestation always requires a subject, you know. Without a subject, there is nothing manifest. Your dream, you have live in a dream world is part of your experience, you know. So the dream world, when you're in the dream world, you don't know of any other world. The dream world is the reality. You know, you may have had a feast and you go to sleep and you're starving in your dream. You dream that you're starving. You ate too much food, but then you dream you're starving, you know. But that's reality. You actually feel that. You feel you're being chased by a tiger. You feel that. You feel the fear. So you experience the whole. What is that? That is manifest. That's the manifest world of your experience. And that becomes your reality. Before that dream manifests itself to you, where was it? Where was it? Was it there or was it not there? Did it come from nothing or it came from something? Then I said, no, no, it came from something. It has to come from something. Because if it came from nothing, then I would be experiencing dreams of which I don't even know what it is. But I only experience dreams of things which I have experienced outside. So that means it is there somewhere, but it's not manifest. So how is it? It's in a potential form. That's all you can say. So in my mind, in my psyche, in my internal world, is there in a potential form, and then for some it just manifests, and that becomes my world of experience, of reality at that time. So in terms of manifest, and that is the nature of manifest and unmanifest. Unmanifest means potential. So as long as I'm experiencing the world, is there for me. Is part of my is a manifest world. When I'm not there, then there is nothing manifest. But there is something which is underlying all of this, which is constant. That is the ultimate source. You know, that is the ultimate source. So that is at one level of understanding. So which is what we understand as God. So God is an ultimate source from which everything has come, like a dream manifests. Now, when the dream is manifest, what keeps it going? Here in the dream, there is one constant and then there is one changing factor. You know, the constant factor is yourself. Even when the dream is not there, manifest, it is there in you as potential. Okay. So there is a constant factor which sustains that same you sustains the dream also, even though you don't recognize that in the dream. In the dream, there is a duality. There is the dreamer and there is the dream. There is a duality there. But really speaking, the dream is not outside of you. The dream world is not outside. Where does the mountain in the dream exist? It exists in you only. But it is experienced outside. So the duality that is experienced and the deep dreamer and the dream, they're all sustained by one thing. The ultimate source is you, the dreamer, with respect to the dream, manifest or unmanifest. So now you look at this whole thing on a cosmic level. On an individual level, it seems reasonable. We can make it makes sense. But on a cosmic level, it's a little different. So there we are talking of everything infinite. But there has to be something that sustains that also. Either there is nothing, zero, in which case everything is redundant. No religion makes any sense because there's a zero. Or or there is one thing that sustains the whole thing. And is it just something? Is it an inert object? Is it something which is sentient? Is it just atoms and molecules, which are inert, by the way? So, does the inert sustain that which is conscious, or does consciousness sustain that which is inert? You know, which one can sustain the other? So, if it is the inert, that means the source of all is and something inert. If it is conscious, the source of all is something which is a conscious being, what we call as a being. When you say being, it means conscious. When you say object, it is inert. So that becomes the source. So now the source is something which has to sustain everything, which has to have the potential, also sustain the potential and the manifest. That's just a matter of perception, you know. is related to the sense organs. So manifest to an entity, like a dog or a cat or a human being, you know. So that's conscious being, that being that sustains everything, from which everything has come, from which everything into which it disappears, Is that something which is function? It's also functioning. It functions. What is the nature of its functioning? Is it chaotic or is it orderly? If you look at the universe, everything is in order. The way the planets move, the way this thing, the time, the geology, any science. Science is because there is order. Science is not there because there is chaos. You know, there will be no need for education if there was no order. The laws are all part of the order. Whether all the laws, which is what makes science possible, is not chaotic. It's because there are rules, regulations, mathematics. So now I have a conscious something, some conscious being that is the source of all, where there is an order. That and that order, the laws include all kinds of laws. The physical laws, the chemical laws, the biological laws, the uh, inner laws of physics, the laws of right and wrong, the laws of karma, what we talk about, action, doing certain actions and getting the results. These are all the laws that are there. Again, the same thing is the source of all those laws. Okay. That is what we define as Ishvara. You know. Now, since all the manifest comes from that same thing, that means now another question I will ask is now, so is that source separate from that which is manifest? Or is it non separate? Is the wood separate from the table? Is the fiber separate from the wood? Separate from the table? Are they two different things or are they same thing? So I have to conclude that no. So this source is really non separate from that which is manifest. It's not separate. So are you saying that God is not separate from me? Yes. We say God is not separate from the world of experience. Just as the dreamer is not separate from the dream. Yeah, but then I don't feel like God. I don't I mean, it's obvious. God, you're talking about all this order and everything and universal and cosmic and all. I don't have control over anything. So how can I be God? It's blasphemy. That's why they say it's blasphemy. I mean, of course, we recognize that, on as an individual, yeah, true. As an individual, the table, you know, you can't put anything on top of a fiber. You can only put something on top of a table, you know. But the truth of it is something different, is the essence of it. So even though essentially there is a non-separation, there is a non-difference from that source, the sinner's child is the father of man. It's true. There is a non-separation. My father is in me. Not literally, but that is means my mother is in me. Why do I say that? Well, because they are the source. So like that kind of, at that level, it's an abstract level. But one can, they say, ultimately, when a person is able to discover that non separation from one's own source, then all these other things in the world that I get caught up in, because I see myself as separate from anything, you know, I am free of all that. And that is a wise person's life. A wise person lives that way, in that recognition, you know. It's a way of understanding that promotes oneness, you know. There is no better, worse, right, wrong, like that. I mean, there is no device division, you know, between people. Not one person is better than the other. A person is a person. Their differences are all born in their own thinking process. We have different thinking process, and we have different ways of concluding and different perspectives, and then we take them as absolute, and then we react to the others, and those are all things born of one's own insecurities and limited thinking, which is not inclusive, but which is exclusive. It excludes the world from me. If I exclude myself from this order, imagine that, you know, then then it becomes me versus you, you know. These are all where our thinking process lead, how we understand different, you know, we look at these things. The more you look at it, the more it starts making sense, and it gets validated also by life experiences. So now here it's at different levels. So how did the source, how does it manifest? Well, the manifestation, one has to understand what you mean by manifest in terms of its reality. It's true. Colors are manifest to me. Are colors real? Are they manifest to every eye? Are they manifest in the same way? Are they manifest to every animal, every being? Insects see only black and white. They say there is a particular shrimp in the ocean, particular species of shrimp. We have these rods and cones, you know. We see what, three primary colors? The human beings, a human eye. This shrimp is capable of seeing seven primary colors. A little shrimp, you know. It's deep in the ocean. Now so just imagine, just I know we can't even imagine. That means it sees colors that we can't even imagine. Or so what I'm saying is, so what is there? What is color? There is no such thing as color outside of my perception, you know. So my eyes determine the color. There's no color sitting out there. Remember, in between there was something on computer that they had this dress, and then it would show two different colors. Some people would see it as blue, and some people will see it as something else. Remember, there was something like that. It's the same thing, same picture. So the which is the real color? Which is the color? You know. So like that. So that is the nature of the manifest. So yeah, there is a source. Everything is manifest to us. You know, that source is what we understand the the infinite one. That has to be the same for all. You know, yeah. Which is what we say. But all don't say that. All don't say that. They separate. It's you or you. What you think is wrong. What I think is right. I have a certain idea that, you know, in Gita, Sri Krishna says, "Ye yatha mam prapadyante." He says, the way in whichever form a devotee invokes me, Visualize. In that form, I will bless that person. It says that like that. So this is how we understand the what God is about. Because human being, it's the devotion that gives the blessing. It's not who you're devoted to. It is really, that's the truth in the sense, because if there is one source, really speaking, anyone who worships that source without even knowing what it is, you don't have to recognize exactly, because there's only one source. So wherever you offer, it's the devotion it's the attitude is going to go to that source. That is the part of the law, which is what we say that. Nobody, many other people don't say like that. They say, no, I am the conduit. You just imagine this, huh? We are talking of a source for the whole cosmos, which we don't even know. And then this small person or this group or this few people get to and say, well, we are the only source connected to that. It doesn't sound reasonable to our mind. But, but I still have to concede, even this person who says that I'm the only one connected, if that person worships, understanding God in that way, it will still go to the same source. I have to concede that because that is how I understand it. Whereas if that person looks at me, he will say, no way, Jose, I am the conduit. You will end up somewhere else and suffer. That's the big difference. One is inclusive of the whole universe, including every living being. Animals, everybody. Why? How can I exclude anybody from this source? Who am I? I'm part of that. And everybody is. So whether I like it or not, I may not like the person, but still I have to acknowledge that. But those the way of thinking which is divisive is not able to do that. Not able to do that. So then it becomes a numbers game. The numbers. I get together and this one and this is against that one and that one is against that one. And so what else can I do? My only reasoning power of logic is you condemn the other person. I can't condemn anybody. So that is how we understand, in terms of our traditions. But it's a matter of learning. I'm saying learning is not a simple process, it's just one dialogue cannot do that. But one has to look at it from different angles and until a point where it seems reasonable to you, and sits well with that human. There is a yearning in all of us to know, to understand, to get connected with something deeper within us, that every human being has that. So until that finds a resolution, one keeps inquiring, and learning without feeling any pressure, you know, yeah, or yeah, without any pressure or fear. One has to be able to inquire. So I don't know if it addresses your point exactly, but this is the bigger picture. This is the big picture. In that, I mean, there were a few questions which Gomati mentioned, which had come up in the conversations, with you and with others. I think they're all very good questions. They're very good questions, and we've all grown up thinking like that, going through this process, learning. I mean, I'm 74 years old now, and I used to ask like this when I was in high school, and I never stopped all my life. So it's a learning process, but I tell you, it's a blessing to be able to do that. Unfortunately, not all religious traditions don't encourage that. Especially the faith-based ones, the whole concept is a little different. So there are injunctions, there are mandates, there are tenets, and then one has to accept. And then there are minds, it's easier to just say yes, accept or not. But then I don't think that one can really blindly just accept things without some concepts, some conflict within. Either that conflict has to be suppressed or disregarded. And which is what a lot of people get into that too. They do because it's just easier. It's easier, especially when you have a support group. No, it's easier to get along, go along with that. To sit and think for oneself and really look and inquire and have the patience takes more effort. But it has its own reward, which is different. Yeah. So I think it's very good. I mean, just attending these kinds of classes and discussions and all. It's very good. So I don't know, there were any, what do you think, Bharat? Give me some feedback.
Sure, Dhiraji. I think about 70 to 75% of whatever you've said sits right with me. Or
Yeah,
definitely, and my concept of things, definitely.
yeah,
And concept of the source and everything is reliant on that source and things like that.
yeah.
But the separate and unseparate is where I am finding a bit difficulty to
Yeah, the
understand.
separation, yeah, just, it's one thing is to understand is relative,
Yeah.
like a dream. Just take the example of the dream, for example. What we experience, what is experiential, is not necessarily the reality, is not as we experience it.
Okay.
Whatever I experience, the
Yeah.
truth of that is not as I experience it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is something deeper. That's why there are levels of truth. The
Yeah.
levels, even in perception, is like that. In
Okay.
perception. And manifestations are always more than the source. There is a bulb, there is a fan, there is a hot plate, there's all kinds of things. These are all manifestations of electricity, for
Yes.
example.
Okay.
You know. So
Okay.
manifestations can take many forms. So, I have a certain sentiment. I'm happy, happiness. That the happiness, it manifests in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I dance, I sing, I just feel it. Different things are there.
Mm.
So, so the manifestations, that's what it takes on many forms. Whereas
Okay.
that which is manifest is like a assembly of that, a
Okay.
source of that. So source is always more fundamental. Wood
Mm.
is one, but then it manifests in many forms, tables and chairs and spoons and whatnot. So, so there is a lot that is out there, but the source sustains the manifestations.
Yeah.
And it need not be more bigger in terms of space, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
S-
Space, let me show, look at the perspectives. Space is the biggest thing because it sustains everything, all
Yeah.
objects. There is no object
Yeah.
that exists outside of space. Space sustains everything. Now, who sustains space?
The source.
the source. And for you, who sustains space for you? For you, the whole universe is sustained by space. But for you, who sustains the space? Who sustains it? Can you be there in the absence of space
Y-
in your
I
experience?
mean, literally, I am in space. But
Okay,
you're talking about,
literally you're in space
yeah,
because obviously wherever I go, I'm in this space.
yeah, yeah,
But then when you go to sleep,
yeah.
this is part of your experience now. I'm not
Okay,
talking of my experience. It's your
okay,
experience. When you
okay.
go to sleep, what happens to this world?
It continues running.
It's gone. It
Oh,
continues. For you, what happens to this world?
for me, yeah, I'm in a different, like the dream world, I guess. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah,
And so now you are sleeping and you're not dreaming either.
yeah,
You're in deep sleep.
yeah.
Is there a world of experience for you? No.
No, yeah,
Is there time for you?
no,
No. In your experience, there
yeah,
is no time, there is no world, there is no stars and moons, there is no family, there
yeah,
is no nobody, there is
yeah.
no space, there is no space even. Are you there or not? Are you there or not? Well, I must be there. I mean, I
Yeah,
think I'm there
yeah,
because I'm saying that this is not there, this is not there, this is not there. That's I experienced something, but I'm not there. I don't know at that time, but so so now if the space is not there in your experience, the
mhm,
universe is not there in your experience, but
mhm.
you are there, then tell me, do you sustain the space or the space sustains you? I said, no,
Uh,
no. In waking, the space sustains me. In sleep, I sustain the space. Okay, does that make sense?
Not really, no.
Because when I wake up, it's there.
Yeah,
When I'm still there, but I'm in deep sleep, I'm still there. But space is not there. That means I am
yeah,
constant. Something is constant here.
yeah,
There is something here that is constant, connected to me, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
which even sustains the space comes and goes. But this something is there. It's not my body. It's not that. So now I'll tell you, look at all this. I look at the moon. Where is it? It's out there. It's far away from me. I can see it. Is it in space? Yes, it's in space. How far is it? So many miles away. Where is it? Is it in space?
yeah,
Where are you? I'm also in space. No, you're awake. Yeah, I'm also in space. So you're in space, and the moon is in space, and there is so many miles between the two of you. Now, between the you in space and the moon in the space, you know, how many spaces are there? Well, there's only one space. Obviously, there's only one space. You know.
yeah,
So now between the moon and me, there is a distance. But between the moon and the space, and between me and the space,
yeah.
what is the distance? So when I shift my attention
Mm,
from the moon and me, I see a distance. When I
mm,
shift my attention to the space, both are in one place.
mm.
But then if that is true for the moon, there's true for everything. That means I sustain. Now, I don't know what this I is at this point, but it looks like there is something that I am not separate from that sustains the whole cosmos. Now, if you talk like that, they'll think you're cuckoo. But then it does, I mean, I can see the reasoning. You
Yeah.
understand? Yeah.
Yeah, I get that example. Yeah.
So that is what that's what it is, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not easy to wrap one's head around this idea, but it's just a very big dimension of understanding, you know.
Yeah.
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 Then other questions, some questions, this all, you know, you see it, you know, I mean, things. But then the
Yeah.
other questions are more in line of our practices and what we do and how we do things and prayers and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
Those are all, but they're all born of they are a reflection of this fundamental way of thinking. And then we invoke, you know, if nothing in this universe is separate from that source, then I can invoke that source in any form, you know, in any way. And we
Mm.
connect it to our life forms, we connect it to our life experiences, to the different laws that are there. And we invoke that. We look at it as divine, you know, because of the order and sacred.
Mm.
And and we worship, we honor it, we worship it. And then these forms become just like, you know, it's like somebody's birthday. You give them a card, you give them flower. It's not about the card. It's about a sentiment, really speaking. So whether I say it in words or whether I say it in actions or whether I do it in gift or I do it in card or I do it, there are so many ways to manifest that. But it's really about wishing somebody well on their
Yeah.
birthday. You know, it's about that sentiment. So worship is also like that. We worship in a varieties of ways in our forms of worship, you know. They don't understand that. They say, you know, you're worshiping these idols and stones and all. Nobody worships stone. Nobody worships a stone. You worship what it represents. Nobody salutes a piece of cloth fluttering in the air. But if it happens to be the flag of your country and you salute it, you're not saluting the cloth fluttering there. I'm saluting what it stands for, you know. When
Yeah.
I throw stones at something, I'm not throwing stone at another piece of stone. I'm throwing a stone at something which that represents something. When I worship a stone, I am worshipping that which the stone represents for me, what it stands for. Maybe
Yeah.
Shivalingam, it may be something else, you know, it may be in the form of an idol. So it's what they represent. That's why if suppose you come and break my Krishna idol, then what happens? What do I feel? Of course, I feel hurt at the sentiment, you know.
Yeah.
But then I don't think that, oh, he broke my God. Now what do I do? Who do I pray to? Then next time I have to go to pray, oh, you know, I can't stop praying anymore because they broke my God. No, I have to take another piece of stone and keep it there and say, now this is Krishna for me. You know, so these are all, these are all just representations. So like that, but sometimes, you know, people take it literally, then they get stuck on that, you know.
Mm.
I always say this, if you break my idol, you know, you think you destroyed my God. I don't think that. I will just put another idol there. So now tell me, who's the idol? Who's the one who gives reality to the idol? Is it me or you? Is it the
Mm,
one who can replace it or the one who breaks it? Who gives it more reality? So, so that's the thing, These are symbols. Symbols can be replaced, and we do that also. Ganesh festivals.
mm.
They build so elaborate Ganeshas, beautiful ones, and keep it for 1 week and then worship it, and then go and then immerse it in the water. You they're not just drowning their gods. Remember, the Buddhists do this. They make these mandalas. Have you seen that? The mandala with powder. They make these big round things
Okay.
with colored powder, like rangoli,
Mm-mm.
colored powder they make. And they represent the universe. So they will make very intricate. It takes them like weeks, days and weeks for a whole bunch of these monks to sit down and make that. And then they make it, and then they offer some prayers and all, and then take a broom and sweep the whole thing off. Because they say, well, that is the nature of this universe. It's manifest, it's beautiful, but it's also gone. Mandala, just look up mandalas in Google, Amazing how they make these. So anyway, keep the questions coming. It's nice. It's the only way to know.
Yeah, yeah, Dhiraj.
And anyone who prevents you from thinking and asking, really speaking, is there's there's not much depth to it.
Yeah, yeah,
Mind
definitely.
always seeks to know, wants to know.
Yeah,
And so, if it doesn't make sense to you, it won't add up.
yeah,
Always have that feeling, or something doesn't add up.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Sorry, Dhiraj, can I just ask
Sure.
one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
So now, earlier you mentioned to take it literally or not, right?
Yeah. Mm.
And so now, how do we know whether or not we should take it literally or not?
No, literally in the sense, you know, a literal is one level of understanding.
Yeah,
If I give you a flower, do you take it literally? Only literally?
no, the other sentiments, feelings that come with it.
Huh.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you can't take it only literally. But at the same time, do you do you reject the literal meaning?
no.
No, you don't have to. So if you give me a flower and I never seen anything like that before, I don't know the custom. I've only seen flowers on plants. Then I will say, why is he unnecessarily plucking the flower and throwing it away or giving it to me? It looks so nice on the plant. He's a destructive person. I can look at it that way too, if I don't understand what it means. So there
Mm,
is the literal is an expression, but I have to know that. Worship, we do so much worship, physical, on one level, people who just take it literally, then they will say, well, these are our customs. We have to do this, we have to do that, we have to do that. Why I have to do
mm,
it, what it means, what it represents, what it stands for, what is the meaning behind it, how does it help me? All those I don't understand, I don't want to understand. Then I mechanically will do, or I won't do. And I resent it also sometimes because I don't understand anything. So I'm not saying, when I said don't take things literally, in the sense, it's not reject that which is literal. One doesn't need to reject it. But one has to seek to know if it means something, if it represents something. If I do that, once I know it, then giving a flower is something beautiful. It's an expression and it carries a certain meaning. And if both people understand, the giver and the receiver, then it's a very nice gesture which communicates. Prayer is also like that. So true. Don't take things only literally. Seek to know the meaning behind it. But once you know the meaning behind it, literally is also important. You know, there's somebody's birthday, this fellow's wife's birthday, and then he he didn't do anything, didn't bring any flower, didn't do anything, no gift, no nothing. Then this person says, "Well, you know what? You don't love me, or you know, you don't show anything." So he said, "No, no, you. Of course I do, but it's in my mind. After all, everything is in the mind. Just giving you a flower doesn't mean that I love you. But in my mind, I love you means I don't have to give flower. No, no, but it doesn't quite work that way, you know. So the sentiment has to be there. Expression enhances the whole thing. It makes it real. It gives
Yeah.
it a form. Yeah. So expression, I can be a big devotee, but when this word called actualizing. When you actualize it, you make it more real. You can be angry at somebody, but when you articulate your anger and say, you know what, I am upset, I feel angry at this, it makes it real and resolves it also, you know. So one need not reject the literal, because literal often is part of the whole thing, but one should not limit oneself to it, you know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try
Yeah.
to think about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Because
easy to dismiss, but then
yeah,
we,
yeah.
we do this all the time, even like with gifts and all. People, how often people say that? Well, it's all in the mind. Anyway, I don't have to do this. I mean, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything. But at the same time, learn the value of doing it
Yeah.
and then enjoy it also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it becomes an expression of your own sentiment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can meet up again, Bharat, anytime you want.
Yeah, definitely, Dhiraji. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
really
Call me.
enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get my phone number from Gomati anytime you feel like. You can WhatsApp me anytime.
Thank you very much, Dhiraji. I very much
Yeah.
with that. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.